Hey guys, good day. I wanted to make a small video about this whole 11th hour game survey. I think the situation is pretty funny. And yeah, I just want to provide a few thoughts. I just had a good time reading about this. So if I were to make a sort of analogy with the real world, what's going on basically is that there's this bear that is like roaming around. And this bear starts crapping into the backyards of people, including your own. So let's say you live in Alaska or something, or Canada, or Russia, and you live near the woods. And now for months, there's this bear, maybe there's more of them, and they're roaming around and they're crapping in your backyard. And now the authorities, they put out a survey. And the questions in there are, if the bear craps in your backyard, would you like that bear to take like a little dump? Like a mildly overpowering dump? Or would you like the bear to take like a big dump? Like a highly overpowering dump? And you're like but didn't we report this bear to the authorities like 4 months ago? That it was roaming around and already like crapping on some places that it shouldn't? Like, why am I getting a survey 4 months after I reported this bear in the first place? Why am I now answering questions about the bear crap in my backyard where, you know, the bear shouldn't be there in the first place? Like, couldn't the authorities have like done something with these reports and caught the bear and put it somewhere else or kill it or whatever? Get rid of the bear, right? Because the problem isn't the crap in my backyard, the problem is the bear. The bear should not be there. And this is exactly what happened. If you replace the bear with a bug and the authorities with ESG, this is exactly the situation. So currently there are builds rampaging the leaderboards, and they are using, abusing, exploiting, like that's really not the topic of this video, but they are using bugs, in-game bugs, to achieve very high arena waves, like 2000 plus. The point is, these bugs were reported like months ago because there's a community tested program and these bugs are known. But they were not fixed. Then the game launched, and at first, you know, there were some other issues with the servers, so it probably took like a week and a half for the meta to start being established. Yeah, and now we have this meta where there are like 6, 7 bugs that are resulting in incredibly overpowered builds, and everyone is using those builds to climb the ladders. And now they're in this situation. So what happened is they did a mid-cycle nerf on some of these bugs. So they fixed finally some of these bugs 2 weeks after the go live, 2 weeks after the launch. And now people that spend 40, 50, maybe 100, 200 hours at this point in those builds have a gutted build, and they're not happy. But I think also in general that people think it's not a great idea if like an army of bears is going around crapping in people's backyards. Because it might not be your own backyard, but at some point it will be, because who knows what they'll do with the next strong build. Like, you don't want to get in this situation where you have a strong build and you're by default afraid of nerfs because the company just like randomly decides to do bug fixes in the middle of the league. That is the real issue here. And so they got backlash. For some reason, they put out a survey. That's roughly the history lesson. And a shout out to McFluffin here for providing context. He made a great video on this topic yesterday, which I watched, and it gave me some context, especially on the history. And now I want to take it a bit further into the actual survey, but also the decision to do a survey. Because effectively, what you're doing here is, rather than sort of taking responsibility as a company, as the authority, right? Saying, yeah, okay guys, sorry, we caught the bears, and you know, we'll next time you report a bear, we'll just act on it sooner, and we're not gonna, you know, we should not have this problem much more. Like, everyone that lives near the woods where there are wild bears will understand that from time to time there will be a bear crapping in your backyard. It will happen every now and then, but It shouldn't be the case by default, and if there's like a bunch of bears walking around rampaging through town and you report them, you expect that to be taken care of. I think it's a very reasonable approach, and in the game it's not much different. If these bugs exist, which they've known for months, we just expect you to fix them. That's not too much to ask. But rather than just acknowledging that and saying like, yeah, alright, we messed up, you know, and next time we'll just act sooner on these bug fixes, and that would mitigate 90% of the issues that they're facing today. For some reason, they put out a survey and then start asking us questions about the amount of crap in the backyard. Like, should it be mildly overpowered backyard crap? Should it be highly overpowered? Like, when do you want us to kill the bear? You know, just, always. Right? I don't want to clean up my backyard with bear poo in it. It's not what we want to do. And the second thing that's so strange about this is that, like, what then are the actual implications? So there will be some sort of outcome of this survey, but then what are you gonna do with it? Like, in the future, when they do a mid-cycle nerf, I mean, it's bound to happen at some point again, are they then gonna refer back to this survey and tell us like, yeah, but like 65% of you voted that this was okay? That's not really the way this works, right? Like bug fixing isn't a democracy. It's I'm very confused by this, honestly. I'm kind of amused too. I think it's pretty funny that they do this. To me, it sounds very much like shifting the responsibility back to the community who already told you what the issue was, and you didn't fix it, and now there's a bunch of shit, and now you're asking us, yeah, what should we do with the shit? Yeah, stop it from happening, right? Just stop it from happening next time. But don't touch the league, right? Don't touch the cycle. Nobody wants that. These, like, you're killing the builds that people spend like 40, 50, 100, 200 hours on. It's not cool, right? Nobody's cool with that. Like, you don't need a survey to figure out if people are not cool with this. So it's a very strange situation to me. But then it gets even better because now you get into the survey, and this was a problem last time as well with 11th hour games. But if you know anything about writing a survey, you can look at this as an example of how not to conduct a survey. Like, this is a completely pointless survey, and I'm gonna point out a few things that hopefully emphasize that point. So the first thing that I kind of noticed about this is that they are using 3 different perspectives in the span of 7 questions. It's almost impressive, honestly. 3 different perspectives of how the question is framed. By which I mean basically the perspective of from which angle are we looking at this, regardless of the content of the question, right? So the first perspective is this one. During a cycle, you would like us to fix bugs that cause skills or items to highly overperform. So here the question is framed from the perspective of you. So you would like us to do something. It's like, okay. The second perspective, there is no actor anymore. Here it is just, second perspective, during a cycle, a full reset to leaderboard should be done when builds or items are nerfed that are highly overperforming as a result of a bug fix or balance change. So there's no you, there's no us, there's no I, there's no actors. This is just sort of a fairly neutral way of wording something. It's like you're just describing a state, and it doesn't matter how this state comes to be, whether it's you, me, us, fine. This is just a state. Would you like this state to occur? And then the last question, the 7th out of 7, during a cycle, I want to be notified via public forum posts in advance when a bug fix, blah, blah, blah. Now it's I. So it's you would like us, no actors whatsoever, and then I. This is incredibly weird. In a single survey. In 7 questions. Second point, halfway through the survey by now, so I don't know, 12 hours in or something, they swapped the strongly agree and the strongly disagree with positions. So at first, the strongly agree was on the left and then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there was strongly disagree. And after that, they swapped it around in the same survey. Now, if you know anything about surveys, you know how crazy it is to like halfway through an actual survey change change the format. You might, if you don't know too much about this, you might think like, yeah, but the answers can still be the same. But that's not really how this works, right? There's a whole lot of psychology going on. For example, people are more inclined to pick answers that are more on the right side of a survey. And so if you put strongly agree there or strongly disagree, it actually matters. It influences the opinion of people where you put an answer, because that is just how people work. If you want to have like a good example of this, you should, for example, look at why the Johnny Walker person, right, the Johnny Walker logo, is pointed to the right and not to the left. There's a whole psychology about this. In short, the reason is if you move to the right, it makes you think about the future and good times ahead, and if you move to the left, it makes you think about the past. And this is just like basic sort of human psychology that is by now completely figured out, and this seeps through when you answer questions on surveys. And you should take this into account. So it already matters how this is positioned. Never ever in an actual survey can you change basically anything, right? The wording of a question, how you're positioning your answers, where the agree, disagree are. This is absolutely impossible. This whole survey is now doomed. You cannot do this, right? You cannot compare anymore the results from before and after that change. It's completely pointless at it. Like, it's basic 101 sort of data collection. You cannot do this. And then you get into the actual meat of the questions that they're asking. And my favorite one is the third. The third question reads, during a cycle, you would like us to nerf skills or items that are highly overperforming, even if it is not caused by a bug. This is almost laughable, like how bad this is. So there are many. You can have like a master class on like how to not collect a survey from this thing alone. So during a cycle, when during a cycle, like 2 hours in, 2 days in, 2 weeks in, 2 months in, a cycle lasts 3 months and effectively starts when it launches. So this lacks a specific sort of time frame, which absolutely matters. Because if you fix something after 2 days, generally people will be much more okay with it than if you fix it after 2 weeks, which is what happened now. And so, but you can't make that distinction from this question. So they should ask, what do you think is a reasonable window or something for us to still do a nerf to build, and then maybe give a range, like 1 to 3 days, 1 to 7 days, the first 2 weeks, something like that. Like, if you actually want an answer to a question like this, if you actually want like tangible answers from the community, then ask tangible questions. But this is very ambiguous language. During a cycle, you would like us. That's also like, it's suggestive. Like, you would like us. The like also matters. That like is in here. You would like us. I mean, I would like you to do your job, basically, and not conduct like these dumbass surveys. Look at this language. This is incredible. You would like us to nerf skills or items that are highly overperforming. Another term with no meaning or substance to it. What is highly overperforming? Is that like 1500 plus arena waves, 2000? Like, when is something highly overperforming? When it's played by 25% of the community? It's, I don't know. No one knows, right, what this means. I don't think 11th Hour Games knows what this means. And then the last sort of addition to this sentence. So you would like us to nerf skills or items that are highly overperforming, even if it is not caused by a bug. Now, this does refer back to a previous question where they're talking about bugs, but it is also highly suggestive, right? So the way that this is phrased, even if it is not caused by a bug, sort of leans you and skews you more to the idea that it is okay to do mid-league nerfs when they are caused by a bug. And so in the single sentence, there's already 4 major issues, right? During a cycle, it's not specific. You would like us, which is a strange perspective to take from, like, just describe a state, which they do in one of the other questions. Highly overperforming, nobody knows what that is. And then even if it is not caused, sort of suggesting that if it is caused by a bug, it is fine to do a mid-cycle or mid-league nerf. And this is just, I could go on for like 15 more minutes on the other questions, but they all bear the same issues. This is not a reliable or representative survey. The way it's framed, the way it's executed, changes made halfway through the survey. Like, this is, you can't use this data anymore. Once again, guys, I do think it's primarily just a little bit funny. To some extent, maybe slightly concerning that ESG really thinks that you can solve this using a survey and then puts out a survey that is as bad as this one, because this is a horrible, horrible survey, really. Yeah, overall, I just mostly think it's amusing, and yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and have a great weekend. See you soon. Bye-bye.